powered by Riverside FM.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Multiverse with Mike. I am one of your co-hosts, Brian, and with me, as always, we have co-host Taylor.
Hey.
And we have Jacob.
What's up?
And we're here to talk about Star Wars today specifically. In the pantheon of nerdy topics, Star Wars is number one for a lot of us here. And, you know, we could go into hours and hours of conversations for Star Wars, but today we wanted to just jump right into the meat of Star Wars here, the movies. Specifically the live action movies, right? There's a lot of Star Wars media out there, and there's a lot of debate. So why not listen to three random guys on the internet talk about why we think that our movie rankings are the ones to go to? So what we're going to do is rank these from worst to best, and then we can debate just a little bit about why we're thinking these things. But I figured there's 11 live action movies, right? We're not counting the animated movies. And I'm going to say right off the bat, number 11, the worst live action Star Wars movie is The Rise of Skywalker.
Okay, I was wondering if you were going to say that one.
For me, it's the only Star Wars movie I've seen once. I saw it in theaters opening weekend because, you know, you have to for a Star Wars movie. Yeah. But I don't have a desire to watch this ever again. It was hot trash. No, it was just trash, straight up trash.
Yeah.
There's no redeeming qualities about the movie. I can't remember a single thing about the movie other than the little tie-in I had with Mandalorian about the Force healing. That's it. Palpatine's in there somewhere. Somehow he returned.
Again.
Somehow.
Yeah. But, yeah, what do you guys think? What's number 11 on your list?
Well, for me, and don't get me wrong, I agree that movie is horrible. But for me, The Last Jedi is the worst, the bottom of the barrel for me. And I think it's just because, especially knowing that that director almost sabotaged the entire direction, that the whole thing was trying to go one way. Oh, sorry. They were trying to take it one direction, and knowing that director almost sabotaged the entire thing and just decided to go in a totally different direction. It just makes me almost see, The Rise of Skywalker is, in my opinion, not a good movie.
It was bad.
But The Last Jedi, because of that, is the reason, I think, to me, why The Rise of Skywalker was such a failure.
That's interesting. Jacob, where would you go with number 11?
Yeah, I would agree with Taylor. That's kind of where I put, The Last Jedi, and it was like more than one. It was more than that too. Like that, it was just weird. You see one, like focus. Like I think I saw this on a meme once where it was just like helmet matters. It doesn't matter, and then back to it does matter now. Like I don't know. Like you said, the sabotaging thing. It did sound like it felt like two kids just fighting over directing a movie. Whether that's the case or not, maybe not, but still, it was just like they weren't really considering that. But I also just didn't like the feel of Luke, and I mean that kind of continued almost into the last one too, but like when he's a ghost or whatever. But it was just kind of weird, like how he would just didn't care about the lightsaber that was handed to him, that literally was like his father's lightsaber, like it's like a relic to his family. He just throws it off a cliff. I don't know. I just think it was just like, I don't even think that Mark Hamill liked that. I think I saw an interview once and he was like, why would Luke Skywalker do that? Because he can't. He's just playing his part as an actor. Mm-hmm. And then same thing with overdosing on the Force. I didn't like that at all. That's how he calls it himself. He's just like, Luke overdoses on the Force. And
what?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
I'm going to present something to you guys here, a little bit of a counter argument. Mm-hmm. This is not the last on my list. The Last Jedi, I should say, is not the last on my list, because I would argue that it's not even a bad movie. It's just bad for Star Wars.
Sure. Like it's bad in placement too. Like it's just like where it was, in my opinion, just like if he may have if he was going to change anything, just almost make it go a different direction. I don't know. And then I don't know.
And I'm not even putting the blame on Rian Johnson for this.
No.
Because if you guys have seen any of his other movies, he's a really talented storyteller and director.
He is.
But
yeah.
I put all the blame on Kathleen Kennedy because she didn't have a clear vision of where the franchise is supposed to go. right?
Did she approve it in the end, kind of a thing too? Or
Well,
she's just like, this is
I don't
good.
think she.
There was no story.
Exactly.
She
There
brought
was-
on 3 separate directors originally, because
Oh yeah, he did.
Colin
She did.
Trevorrow was supposed to direct the third one before the whole mess with Last Jedi happened, right? So she hired 3 separate directors to do 3 separate movies with no through story. They were just supposed to come up with it after the next movie came out.
Yeah.
So a lot of that blame I put on her, because if there was a through story, then it would have made the job of the next director a little bit easier to come in and just continue the story with an end already in sight, right? They were just making everything up as they went. Because J.J. Abrams, all credit due, he's great at mysteries. He's great at presenting mysteries, but he doesn't know where to go with those mysteries. And so that, the disconnect of having 3 separate directors for these movies is what messed up. It's what messed up the sequel trilogy. It is. I'm getting off on a weird tangent on that, but
Getting
Well,
the directors.
I guess a side note on that. Have you seen Colin Trevorrow's original script or the direction?
I heard about it.
well, yes, but
Okay.
a good script doesn't mean it's going to be a good movie.
No, I know, but it definitely was better than
helps.
whatever the heck that was. So for for the Rise of
Right.
Skywalker.
Yeah.
So in the direction that he was going to go made more sense with the way that they were originally heading, or
Yeah.
at least it felt like they were heading.
Those two are
and-
kind of difficult for me though, because it's just like they're both bad. Like like you were saying, it's not necessarily just because I'm not trying to also just blame a director. Like I don't even know what the ins and outs are of being a director. Like I don't know if they're going, what did he do in that last movie? I'm not doing that. Like I don't know if that's how it went. But when it comes to like the story, like I remember like watching The Last Jedi, and I'm just kind of like squinting my eyes most of the time because I'm like, what? Like it would go to one other thing. I was like, how did and now like she just knows all these things. And I'm like, and how she's fighting. I was like, where'd she learn that?
Lazy
And then-
storytelling. Yeah.
Exactly. It was just like they wanted to speed up the process. Like she just is. What do they call it?
Mary Sue.
Mary Sue.
Sue,
Yeah,
yeah.
she just knows it because it's just part of the story. Like I
So-
didn't like that.
Okay.
In the interest of saving time, because we're still just talking about the number 11 entry,
Yeah.
I'm going to present 3 at a time, and then we can kind of talk about the order of these things. So, full transparency, I know I'm trying to defend The Last Jedi a little bit. I still have that as my number 9. It's still pretty low on the list. So, my bottom 3: Rise of Skywalker, Attack of the Clones, and then Last Jedi.
Ooh.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So
Let me hear bottom 3s from you guys.
Okay. So
Is there some
I was
internal
just-
debates going on?
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
shocked at Attack of the Clones. I'm not gonna lie. So can you say those 3 again?
Yeah, number 11 for me, Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Number 10, Attack of the Clones. Number 9, Last Jedi.
Okay. Yeah, because I have Attack of the Clones a lot higher on my list. Just
Well, the reason I have Attack of the Clones so low is because it has some of the worst directed scenes in any Star Wars. It has really, really bad dialogue. Like, there's no way you can defend the love story between Anakin and Padme. It is just some of the worst cinema that's ever been out there. Some of the action is fun. I'll give it that. But all the storytelling in that movie is so bad, it's almost unwatchable.
for me, this is just a side note for, I guess, for what my tier list here is. Where I have the prequels in are going to be a lot higher based on what I'm hearing here. And the reason for that is because the choreography is the redeeming quality for me. The choreography they have and showing what like a fully trained Jedi would be, right? With 10,000 Jedi in the order, and having that's the redeeming quality for me for those movies. And yes, the direction and the dialogue is horrible in most of those movies, and that's on George Lucas. He's not a very good writer when it comes to dialogue. He's better at other stuff, and he should have been leading it to other stuff. But for me, I'll say that for 10 and 9 were The Rise of Skywalker and The Force Awakens. And I those three, I don't like those movies. I don't. I will be very blunt and honest about I don't like the sequel trilogy. It's my least favorite and all of that. And really it just comes down to I think they missed the mark completely.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it was not a good direction for Star Wars, and for especially if they didn't listen to, it felt like they didn't listen to the to anything that the books that were written out that were actually popular. If they would have actually gone and I feel like they're starting to fix that in some of the shows, especially with Jon Favreau,
Mm-hmm.
and Filoni, and the Filoniverse. They're starting to kind of heal some of the fandom on that, but those movies have done some damage.
Well, let me play some devil's advocate for you here.
Yeah,
Because I agree that the sequel trilogy for me is the worst of the three trilogies. However, the sequel trilogy made more than any of the other trilogies. Each of them are billion-dollar movies.
Mm-hmm.
And The Force Awakens still has the highest domestic gross of any movie ever released. So while the hardcore fans didn't like it so much, the casual audience, which is a far larger spectrum,
mm-hmm.
really enjoyed those movies.
Sure. And I think it also comes down to like in the end, it's almost like it really does come down to like nostalgia. And some of the I feel like the people that probably went to go watch The Force Awakens, like what was look at the year gap here. So it went from,
I think it was 2 years.
From episode 3 until Force Awakens.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
No, like really
2005 to 2015, so it would be 10-year gap.
So because that's kind of a huge gap to be like on, and now we're making a Star Wars film. Like people probably blew their minds. Like I can't wait to see this thing that we haven't seen in a while. And then after that, like I don't know what the initial because my last three would be the Force Awakens, Rise of Skywalker, The Last Jedi. The Force Awakens is the top of that. That sounds right. Top of the bottom three.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason is because that's what I was excited to go see that, and not because I knew what was going to happen in the movie, not because I knew who was directing it, but I just knew it was Star Wars, and it's been 10 years since the last one, and I was psyched to see it. And I'm sure there was a huge flood of people that went to go watch it. I'm not sure how much the one after that made, but
they're all billion-dollar movies.
Oh, I'm sure. And Disney has just blown up from didn't Disney owned it at the time, right? At that time.
Yeah. Those are Disney products,
right? And they're pretty good at advertising their products. They did a good job in the old ones too, using McDonald's and all those other.
Advertising doesn't make a movie money though.
That's
true.
Snow
White.
No, yeah, that's true.
So in my own heart,
it's the word. Yeah.
in my own heart, and I'm going to say this as a Star Wars fan. Star Wars to me is still Star Wars, and no matter what, if I think it's going to be good or bad, I'm going to go watch it. I'm going to watch every bit of it. I'm going to do my best to try and enjoy this. But if we're going to put these in, I think that they, in my own heart, I feel like they missed the mark with these three movies, and that's why I put them at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that they are the highest grossing, movies, especially The Force Awakens. But I think that the excitement of the fact that there was going to be a new Star Wars movie played a huge factor in why The Force Awakens was such a high grossing movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, and that's my own opinion. That's why I have seen that, and I understand that. I totally get it. And that's a great point, that you had there. But in my own opinion, I think that's why it was such a high grossing movie. It's just Star Wars.
To go into the next section of three here, number 8, number 7, and number 6. The Force Awakens is number 6 on that list for me. So I actually have it ranked above Solo, which I have at number 8.
Oh, that movie.
Phantom Menace at number 7, and then Force Awakens at 6. So that's my next 3. Now, as far as Solo goes, it's an okay movie, but aside from Lando, I didn't really care for much about that movie. Not a lot of redeeming qualities. There wasn't anything inherently bad, but it wasn't really that good either, if that makes sense. It was just kind of, it was mid.
Yeah.
Can I say that?
Mid.
Am I too old to say mid?
Please don't.
Nah. You're fine. You're fine.
Phantom Menace for me is number 7. And while that movie has a lot of bad pieces to it too, I think that Darth Maul and the whole action sequence at the end and then the pod race scene, those things by itself put it a notch above everything else that's been on the list so far. So that's why I have it ranked at number 7. And then Force Awakens, I think, is actually a legitimately good movie. I had a lot of fun watching that. And that's one that I can go back and watch again. And I like most everything that's in that movie. I know it's a retread of the original Star Wars. It is a retread, so I can't put it any higher. You took the words
out of my mouth.
But it's a good retread.
Jacob, do you want to take this next one?
Yeah, I think. Yeah. So, what are these ranked? Remind me again. Sorry.
Number 8, number 7, and number 6 on your list.
8, 7, 6. Oh man, that's hard because then we're getting like you're getting into the better stuff too. We're like, oh man, do I make that? Because I didn't make this ahead of time, so this is on the fly.
Someone didn't do their homework.
I didn't. Guess I'll have to go watch them again, guys. I'll be right back.
Man.
I would say probably the Attack of the Clones, and I think that just comes down to because I really did like that movie, and because of the Clone Wars that came out later, which filled in so much for me. Like when I watched the movie, I feel like they're like, oh, all this war happened all at once.
But we're not ranking the TV shows.
No, I know.
You got to take the movie on its own merits.
And that's why my next one up would be the Clone Wars, because it's not that I didn't like the movie. I'm just placing it there because I remember when I watched it, there was a lot of action. I thought that was great, just like however old I was at that time. It's just that like I just felt like that there was so much that happened at once, and then there's like the Clone Wars just began, and then there's the next movie, and so I'm like, what? And like, oh yeah, there's a year's gap, and I was like, why didn't they have anything between that? And then they did later, but that's kind of how I felt at the time. Solo would be the next one for me. I also don't think that was necessarily a terrible movie. I did like that Maul was in it. I thought that was kind of cool, like for 5 seconds. But like just knowing he was behind the scenes, I thought that was kind of cool. But same with Lando, I thought he was amazing. Chewie always does a good job. always a good actor. And then probably next would be like when you're moving up to so 6, 7, 8 is what this is.
Yes.
So number 6 would be the Phantom Menace. And I think that's just because of literally I was probably, I don't know, how old is that movie? Was that 90?
Phantom Menace was 99.
99? Yeah, so I was like 5 years old when that came out. If that ages you a little bit, sorry. But when I watched it, I just skipped through most of it as a kid, fast forwarded it on the VHS to the fighting, whether that was in space or whether that was with lightsabers, because it was so fast compared to the old ones. Like just watching like the old ones and then watching that, I was like, oh my goodness, they're flipping. And then that guy has a double lightsaber. What? Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, what? And then like you got Ben Kenobi who's just like and just holding his lightsaber out. Run. Yeah. So that's mine.
So for me, yeah, it goes Solo, and I can't say
like moving up. You're saying?
Yeah, you have Solo at number 8.
Yeah, Solo number 8.
Okay.
And the best part of that movie was Chewie. Every scene that had Chewie in it was a good scene. Outside of that, I struggled with that movie. I struggled to maintain interest. Yeah, when they brought Maul in, I felt like that was I felt kind of cheated because they claimed that this movie was not going to have any lightsabers. And not them saying that, and not that I love lightsabers. Don't get me wrong, but I felt like a prequel movie, a pre-story of Han Solo. I almost said Han Solo would honestly not involve any lightsabers. This guy, doesn't believe in the Force, in A New Hope, and and doesn't think that this thing is real. why would there be lightsabers involved? Yes, it was in a hologram, but still, I felt like that was a last minute, like, let's try to get a little bit more money. Let's try to get some people talking about this.
That was the worst part of the movie.
Thank you.
Just the lapse in logic where he would appear in a hologram and just turn the lightsaber on.
Yeah, that was weird.
Just to turn it on.
And don't get me, it was the wrong lightsaber, wasn't it?
It was his it looked like a staff.
Well, and see, here's the old adage that the canon used to follow. Anything that came out was only canon until something in a movie came out that overrode it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Because the movies were the be all end all of canon.
Because I can tell you, my wife heard that all the way home. He had the wrong lightsaber. He wasn't supposed to have that. I'm sure she was tired of hearing that.
Just him being there, I thought was kind of cool. I was like, oh look, and then he just turns it on. I was like, what? That's the only thing that scares people is when they turn on lightsabers. Not Darth Maul sitting in front of you
in a hologram.
In a hologram.
And so then next would be Phantom, for all the other reasons you guys have said so far.
Jar Jar.
I think we're closest on Phantom Menace so far. I had it at 7, and both you guys have it at 6.
Yeah. No, let's see. I have it at 7.
You have 7 now.
Oh, okay. So we both have it at 7 then.
Yeah,
Jacob had it at 6.
And I might get some flack for this one. A New Hope.
At number 6?
Number 6.
What is wrong with you?
For shame. Tell me why. Explain. Explain.
It is hard for me to stay engaged sometimes with that movie. I'm not gonna lie. It's just, and this is just because of the movies in front of it. And
Taylor can't watch old movies.
It's not that I can't watch old movies. Not that. It's the, I'm not gonna lie. Alec Guinness sometimes felt like he was uninterested in the movie. And
Taylor,
yes,
he was very uninterested in the movie.
I know he was, and
he famously hated it.
I could feel that even as a kid. I only watched that movie. I really only watched it when I was watching all the other movies all at once. That's the only time I actually find myself watching that movie
to get you to the next one. Kind of thing.
Is because I like to do movie marathons and watch them all in a row. Mm-hmm. And yes, I throw it in there, but that's the only time I find myself going back to that movie.
Yeah,
it's still. I mean, higher than the other ones on there. I have
slow parts.
Yeah, and I actually, funny enough, I find myself going back to Phantom more often than New Hope, but I do respect the movie enough to put it at least above all those others. So, yep.
Man, I did not see that coming.
I know you didn't.
No, that was a
man to put the original Star Wars mid-table like that.
I'm sorry.
Man. It was it was
Okay. So that's the bottom half of our list. We're officially moving into the top half now. So for me, my numbers 5, 4, and 3. So number 5, Rogue One.
Oh, number 5.
Number 4, Revenge of the Sith. And number 3 is the original Star Wars. So for me, Rogue One is the best Star Wars that's come out since Disney's owned the IP. And I know I said that we're ignoring the TV shows, but watching Rogue One again recently after having just finished season 2 of Andor, it makes that movie so much better. I already liked it to begin with a lot, and everything with Andor just amplifies how much I love Rogue One. So
I'm right there with you on that.
Yeah. Fantastic movie. Revenge of the Sith is not a perfect movie. It has a lot of flaws, but there's a lot of really good stuff in there too. The action is the best in Star Wars. I go out on a limb and say that. I don't think that anything else in any of the live action Star Wars comes close to the action that's in that one. The space battles, the lightsaber fights, some of the cheesy dialogue that is iconic at this point, right?
Yeah.
And then having Star Wars A New Hope at number 3, just leaves room for the final two coming up here shortly. But I remember watching Star Wars, the original one, for the first time. And I think, Taylor, it kind of goes to speak to what you were saying with the reason you had it ranked a little bit lower. It doesn't hold your interest as much for kids, I think. I think adults can appreciate it more, but it does suffer a little bit compared to the other ones, at least, for people that are more into like action epics, because there's less action in that one than there is in the other movies.
Yeah.
It's still a big epic movie, but and again, I'm downplaying it a little bit. It's at number 3 on my list.
Yeah.
So I obviously really like it, but once more, my number 5 is Rogue One, number 4 Revenge of the Sith, number 3 Star Wars: A New Hope. What do you guys think?
I can get behind that.
Yeah.
I think I have them personally. I almost have this exact same. It's just I have Revenge of the Sith 5, Rogue One 4, and I think it, because that was a hard one too, like kind of finding out where that is. And I think just because of like, again, like how old I was, 2005. I was in the 5th grade when that came out. So like all I was very interested in was the action, which there's so much in it. I loved that. When it came to the dialogue, like there were points where I definitely could just skip it, and be fine with that. Because even though I was in the 5th grade, I could I could understand what was happening, but like there's some things that I was like, and then I feel like General Grievous was just kind of like wasted. Like he was there, they fought him, and he died. Like and then they kind of redeemed that in the. I know we're not talking shows, but like later on, I was like, okay, wow, he did so much more than I thought he did. It was just like he's a big bad guy, and then the third one's like they found this big bad guy and he shoots him. I was like, oh, all right, but like, and again, I'm not saying that because that's still number 5. It's like for me, so that's still like you're up there. But then Rogue One, which I agree, like when it came to like this like espionage, like totally different feel, but it's still Star Wars, but it feels different in some ways. Like, it's a Star Wars movie. It feels like a Star Wars movie, but it's like there's not lightsabers everywhere, and you're okay with that. Because like I remember like hearing about the movie, and the trailer was sick. Like I thought that was the coolest thing ever. It's just still I was like, oh, there's no lightsabers in it. Like there's no like Jedi's jumping around, force choking, force pushing. I was like, I don't know if am I gonna like this? Like, and then I'm watching it, and by the end I was like, I want more of this. Like I want more movies like this. So yeah, that's why that one's my number 4. And then same here, A New Hope was my 3rd one. Just because it was one of those in the VHS trilogy that I had. Mm-hmm. It definitely is the slowest. Because like when I watched that, I was like 8 years old, and I was just like, I don't like this. Like, not that I didn't like it, I didn't like the parts that were just like dragging on. I didn't like the banter between Luke and Leia all the time, or not Luke and Leia, Han and Leia, where it was just this back and forth. Like, all right, run down the hallway and shut up. Like they're still shooting at you, and they want to argue about what they're calling each other, princess. And like, I was like, this. It was annoying, but I bring that number 3 though, just because it's also just a classic. Like it's just like an overall wonderful movie. Like, and it's in the history of wonderful movies. So, but yeah.
All right.
What do you got, Taylor?
So 5, I put Rogue, and for many of the reasons Brian said, it was a wonderful movie. It was a breath of fresh air coming out of that theater. Though I did laugh really hard at the Darth Vader scene at the end.
Yes. The one time I was like rooting for him to massacre, I was like, yes.
Do you notice that his cape is billowing behind him in space?
I did not.
Is it?
That man has so much dramatic entrance
Flare.
into that flare and all that. He's using the Force to billow his cape because there is no air in space.
Dude, he even
sorry,
bends
go
space.
back and watch it. It's hilarious.
That's good.
But no, in all actual seriousness, like that movie is a wonderful movie, and all the every bit of that the lead up to it. I was worried. I was really concerned coming into that movie that it was going to be another flop, and it was great. I was so excited about Star Wars coming out of that theater. 4 for me is Attack of the Clones. Again,
wow.
Hey,
You love that movie.
I do. I like that movie. I think that yes, the worst part of that movie was the love
Dialogue.
the love dialogue, the whole everything of them. Very unbelievable.
It's
love
not
story.
fair.
It's not fair. They're animals. I slaughter them like animals. I ate them.
I like that. I like that.
I like quoting that all the time, as Jacob knows.
Yeah.
Very quotable.
Very quotable. And I just but the choreography and watching Anakin dual wield lightsabers, that's
Fighting Dooku, that was cool.
If I'm correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure it's the first time we see somebody dual wield lightsabers when he grabs two of them and starts fighting. Yes, it only lasted for 5 seconds, but still seeing him grab that second lightsaber and start moving, like, in actually knowing what he's doing, you're like, oh, this is a thing.
That made me want more. Like, I wanted to see more movies later on with dual lightsabers.
But the best part of that movie, Yoda.
Yeah.
Seeing Yoda actually fight with a lightsaber for the first time on screen.
Drop a stick.
I thought that theater was going to explode as a child. Like, I mean, I couldn't remember hearing what was even said for the next, like, 5 minutes because people were, like, just, like, minds were blown. That experience as a kid was... It set something. You set a fire even further into me for this love of this Star Wars. 3. You guys are probably gonna hate me again.
Don't.
Empire Strikes Back.
I'm really curious what you have above Empire now.
I know it is widely known as a lot of people say it's their favorite. It is the best Star Wars movie. I can't tell you why exactly it's not my favorite, and I also can't, like, understand fully why it is everyone else's favorites by the in my generation by the what it seems like, at least. And it's just it's a great movie. And I can't, and I can't put it, I almost feel bad putting it 3, but it's because I love the other 2 movies so much more. Are you crying, Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah, making me a little bit sad.
I'm sorry.
About
but it's this is my own personal, belief on it. It's just, it's not the best movie in my opinion, to me.
Yeah. You know what? The biggest discrepancy we've got on our list is Attack of the Clones.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Right? You had that. You had that at number 4, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and I have that at number 10.
Yeah, I know.
So that's a big discrepancy. I was about to say that we all have the same top 2, but then you went through Empire down there at number 3.
I want to know what your top 2 are now.
So let's just jump into the top 2. I know we've been talking about this for a bit now, so let's go right into it. Now, just a quick note about Revenge of the Sith. That's probably my go-to as far as just, like, putting something on in the background. If I'm just doing something around the house, that's probably my go-to. So it's one of the more rewatchable. And that plays a lot into my top 2. Because I know I just gave you flack for putting Empire at number 3. Empire's number 2 for me. Okay.
Really?
I love the Battle of Hoth. I love the duel between Vader and Luke. I love the introduction to Yoda and how crazy he is in that movie. The reveal about Vader being Luke's father, of course, is one of the more iconic things in Hollywood history. But my favorite Star Wars movie is Return of the Jedi. I could watch that movie endlessly. I can quote that movie endlessly. It is entertaining from start to stop, and there's not a single thing about that movie that I dislike. Especially the Battle of Endor. When I was a kid, I remember I would just fast forward to the start of the Battle of Endor and just watch that with the surround sound turned all the way up. And that's my go-to Star Wars movie. I love everything about it. And Yub Nub is the only song that I'll accept at the end of that movie.
Yeah. You don't like the other one, no?
No. Yeah, it has to be.
Or Jabba's Palace, how they changed that up too between the not extended edition. What was it?
Special edition.
Special edition, yeah.
Yeah, I could do without the changes on special edition.
The CGI.
But yeah, the original Return of the Jedi is my favorite Star Wars.
I'm going to switch those two. and the reason is for straight up nostalgia. Because it's like, and it's still top two, but like Return of the Jedi is, I agree, that one I also watched more than the other ones, and it was also because I couldn't find the other ones. But like, so number 3, I once again I can also quote it. I think I did have the later edition though, because I remember being a VHS tape that had like gold around it, like whether it was special edition or like some other edition that was added on, because it was the 3D animated. What do they call that song? Is that girl singing in Jabba's palace with the long lips?
Yeah.
Like, I know that song, which is sad, like, because I know that. But I think just Empire Strikes Back, to me, was like iconic, and like it is in just all cinema. Like, 'cause I took like a cinema class, and they talked about how that was like George Lucas like writing, like it was a big poem essentially, where it was like the whole like mic drop of like, and sadly I wasn't there for it, like, but it was such a big reveal about like, Luke, I'm your father, because the whole time they're learning like, oh yeah, no, he killed his father, and he's like, no, I am your father, and how big of a mic drop that was, how everybody freaked out. And then even nowadays, if you watch any reels of parents sharing with their kids, you see these parents just like or they see their kids just going, what are you, is that really his father? Like, I don't know, I just think. And then of course, like, I've always been obsessed with training, like Luke training, because like numbers, he's just like OP in my opinion, and it's awesome in the Return of the Jedi. But like the whole training sequence, like how he got to where he was, like, and I almost, as a kid, I don't know why, I wanted more, because I was like, oh, there's got to be more training to that, like there's got to be more. But then, of course, he left in the middle of it. But still, like, I think that was one of my favorite parts. And like, the only thing I really wish they would have shown in some way, like back then, is him constructing his lightsaber, because I've always wanted to see that, like how that works.
There's a deleted scene. It's on YouTube.
That's what I've heard. I haven't seen it. I need to.
And you call yourself a fan.
Yeah.
You have to watch
I call myself
everything.
No, I think the order that you had there, Jacob, is what most people consider their top 2, most Star Wars fans. My top 2, I think, is not abnormal. It's just not as common.
I'm not normal.
And Taylor, I'm predicting what your top 2 are in my head right now, and yours are
one.
definitely not the normal top 2. Why don't you tell us?
Number 2, and the reason for this is actually going to be pretty interesting for you guys. So, number 2 is going to be Revenge of the Sith, and it used to be 3rd, and my perspective on it changed. And I'm going to kind of tell a little story. So we used to have a foster kid, and she had never seen any of the Star Wars movies. She was 13 at the time, and I didn't force it, but she asked. She goes, "Hey, I want to watch. I see you like these movies. I see you like this world. I want to know about it." And so, we put on a movie a day until all the way up. But she said, "I said, do you want to start with 4, 5, 6?" She said, "Why?" I thought, why? let's do a little experiment here and start with 1, 2, 3. She knows nothing about this world.
Mm-hmm.
The Palpatine drop was just as shocking to her as Darth Vader being father.
Okay.
Her mind was blown. And so from that moment, that movie actually moved up in my own, because it just my own to number 2. It used to be number 3. But along with Brian, the Return of the Jedi will always forever be my favorite movie. That movie, and yes. That movie is just an absolute masterpiece, and it is the happy ending to the trilogy. It was a good way to end it. Powerful, you could see that Luke could have gone either way. Mm-hmm. And you still would have been invested in those movies. Luke could have turned straight to the dark side on that, and you still would have watched that movie, And
all right. Okay.
Well, what?
The more you guys talk about it, the more I'm like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, that's right. Oh, all right. I'm gonna switch it. I'm gonna switch the 2, because that is such a good movie. Like, I was just thinking about like especially when, because I remember talking to you about this, Taylor, because you said you read like the novel,
Yeah.
or the behind it, because I was like, oh, how powerful it was like for him to like see his son being electrocuted, and he made like Darth Vader making the decision to backstab his like own master, who he had no problem murdering children like in the past for this guy, and he's just like, ooh, you can't. It's such a good job. I wouldn't say like cinematography, but you using your own mind, like as the viewer to try to understand, especially when that music starts to amp up a little louder and louder. It's zooming in on a helmet. So really, that's hard to like for someone to be like, oh, I felt so much from Darth Vader. It's like it's just him going.
You can see him exactly. He's expressing emotion in a mask.
He's just turning. Yeah.
All he's doing is just
just using music. Yeah, exactly.
And again, the original, not the special edition when he's yelling no.
No,
that doesn't belong.
I laughed.
So-
I laughed when I heard that one.
Is that
I
an
did
even
too.
later edition though? Because I don't remember that in the VHS version that I had. It
That
seemed like
is one of George Lucas's special editions.
special edition. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think what I had was the one that was just after. Like it wasn't like the legit like straight up VHS. It was like a premium edition or something because it had like some CGI, but I don't remember him saying no.
The first time I heard that no was on Disney Plus, and I laughed hysterically at that. And my wife's like,
they add
"What are you
that?
laughing at?" And I'm like, "You didn't hear that?" and so I rewind it, and she goes, "Was that not there?" I go, "No, or no."
But you were telling me though, because I was saying like, oh, he just picks him up and throws him in, and at the time as a kid, I'm like, oh, that's cool, but like, he didn't like punch him or he didn't like lights it. He just picks him up. But I remember you explaining to me like in the novel, it's saying like he like grabbed him by his spine.
He smashed it. He destroyed his spine.
He's like a robotic hand too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just like kind of, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that ended up pretty close to about the way I expected it to. So our top couple at least are pretty similar. The bottom of the list, I'd say the bottom half was pretty contentious there for a little bit. I mean, we can agree to disagree, but what we can all agree on is that the OG Star Wars movies are clearly the best, and we've got a lot of nostalgia for that. But our question now is to all of you watching at home or listening, what is your list of your Star Wars movies? Rank them in order and leave it in the comments down below. If you've made it this far, we appreciate you hanging out with us. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and subscribe for all the future podcast episodes that are coming your way. If you're listening on audio, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. It goes a long way actually to helping our podcast grow. So we thank you for all that. Again, thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.